All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about the real reason most traders lose money. And here's a spoiler. It has almost nothing to do with their charts, their indicators, or some secret strategy they haven't found yet. Nope. It's about a fundamental conflict, a battle raging between the brain that evolved to keep you alive on the savannah and the brain you need to survive in the modern financial markets.
So let's just start with a number that should honestly stop you in your tracks. A major study of day traders in Brazil found that a staggering 97% of people who stuck with it for over 300 days lost money. Think about that. That's not just a high failure rate, that is near total. It tells you something is fundamentally broken in how most people are approaching this game.
So the natural question is, what's going on here? Is it that all 97% of these people are just using terrible strategies? Are their indicators all wrong? Are they just not smart enough to figure it out? I mean, that's the easy thing to blame, but the data and the science suggest the problem is way, way deeper than that.
The real culprit isn't the software on your computer. It's the 3-pound piece of hardware between your ears. The problem isn't the system on your screen, it's the ancient biological system that we're all running. Your brain, believe it or not, is literally hardwired to make you a terrible trader. Let's dig into how.
Okay, so the first part of this whole problem starts with our own internal chemistry. The trading environment, whether you're on a Wall Street floor or just alone in your office, is incredibly high stress. It's uncertain, it's competitive, and these conditions trigger some really powerful, really ancient hormonal responses that are just completely wrong for making calm, rational financial decisions.
Now, this is where it gets fascinating. 2 key hormones are basically hijacking your decision-making. You've got cortisol, the stress hormone, which floods your system when things are uncertain or you feel a threat, like, say, a losing trade. And then there's testosterone, which surges after a big win, making you feel confident, even over-optimistic. These were great for a caveman deciding whether to fight a saber-toothed tiger, but in the market, they're a recipe for disaster.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. A study literally administered these hormones to people to see what would happen. The results were just wild. Subjects given cortisol, the stress hormone, increased how much they invested in risky assets by 70%. Those given testosterone increased it by 46%. So get this, whether you're stressed out from a loss or flying high from a win, your own biology is pushing you to take bigger and often dumber risks.
You know, this idea isn't even new. Decades ago, the famous economist John Maynard Keynes had a name for it: animal spirits. He knew that we humans don't always make decisions based on cold, hard math. A lot of the time, we act on this spontaneous, primal urge. And now, the science is showing us the exact chemical cocktail that's driving that very urge.
So what does this hormonal hijacking actually look like when you're trading? Well, it leads straight into one of the most destructive behaviors you can possibly imagine: the revenge trading trap. This is the moment where biology turns into bad behavior that can literally wipe out your entire account in a matter of minutes. We've all felt this. Revenge trading is that frantic, desperate feeling right after a loss where you think, I have to get that money back right now. You throw your plan out the window, you jack up your position size, and you start making impulsive moves. It's not a strategy. It's exactly what this says: an emotional hijacking of your brain. And here's the science behind that hijack. Your amygdala, that's your brain's ancient fear center, it literally takes over from your rational thinking prefrontal cortex. This gets amplified by something called loss aversion. Basically, the pain of losing $100 hurts about 2.5 times more than the pleasure of winning $100 feels good. So your logic just shuts down. You get this tunnel vision, and all you can think about is stopping the pain. And if you're stressed or haven't slept, oh man, it gets so much worse.
So, how do you know if you're falling into this trap? Well, this table is basically a perfect diagnostic tool. Ask yourself honestly, do you jump right back into another trade moments after a loss? Do you suddenly double or triple your position size? Do you hear that little voice in your head saying, I just got to get it back? If any of this sounds familiar, that's a huge red flag that your emotions have taken the wheel.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's big, it's biological, and it sounds kind of bleak, right? But it's not a hopeless situation. The solution is not to try and fight your biology head-on. You'll lose. The solution is to build systematic defenses against it. And this is where mental models are your best friend.
This right here is the absolute key mindset shift. You are never going to stop feeling fear, or greed, or frustration. You can't just turn off your hormones.
But what you can do is create a system, a hard set of rules and frameworks that contain those feelings and prevents them from making your decisions for you. You learn to manage your biology, you don't pretend it doesn't exist. And that system is built on powerful ways of thinking, like these two mental models. First up is inversion. It's simple, but it's a game changer. Instead of just thinking about how much money you can make, you flip it around and ask, what are all the ways this trade could go wrong and fail? This forces you to think about risk first. And second, the circle of competence. Be brutally honest about what you actually understand and where you have an edge, and then stay there. Stop taking those random, impulsive curiosity trades on things you know nothing about.
This quote just nails the whole idea of inversion, doesn't it? Your path to actually succeeding long-term isn't about hitting these incredible home runs. It's about consistently avoiding the big, catastrophic, stupid mistakes that blow up your account. In this game, defense is often the best offense.
All right, here's a super practical, step-by-step ritual you can use the second you feel that emotional hijack starting. First, literally say the emotion out loud. I am feeling frustrated. That helps engage the logical part of your brain. 2, stand up and physically walk away from the screen. Break that state. 3, do some box breathing to calm your nervous system down. And finally, number 4, ask yourself this one killer question. If the answer is no, you know it's your emotions talking, and you've just saved yourself from a terrible decision.
So look, when you start putting all these pieces together, you understand the biology, you use mental models, you have these practical rituals, you start to make a fundamental shift. You start moving from that amateur retail mindset to a professional one. And it's a total change in how you see the world.
I mean, this slide just lays it out so perfectly. The retail mindset thinks every single trade is the one that's going to make them rich. They're on this emotional roller coaster, and when they lose, it's always bad luck or the market is rigged. The professional? They see a trade as just one of thousands in their career. They treat it like a business, and they know losses are just a non-negotiable cost of doing that business.
And this is what that professional's defense system actually looks like in practice. Their success for the day is based on how well they followed their rules, not on how much money they made. They use things like checklists and hard stop losses to take their emotions out of the equation. They think in long-term probabilities, not short-term crystal balls. And critically, they journal their emotions to find their own personal patterns of bad behavior.
So let's just bring this all home. Every single instinct that kept our ancestors alive, that fight-or-flight response, that intense pain from a loss, that euphoria from a win, all of those things will actively work together to destroy your trading account. The tiny percentage of people who actually make it in this field aren't wizards with a better strategy. They are simply masters of their own psychology.
And really, at the end of the day, it all comes down to this one choice. Every single day, every single trade, you have to decide who's in charge. Is it the ancient, impulsive, survival-driven part of your brain that's clicking the mouse? Or is it the disciplined, systematic, process-driven professional that you're trying to become? The market could not care less about your feelings, but your results will absolutely depend on how you manage them.